Right. Well, good morning. Hi, everybody. I am Angie Kuko, and I'm joining you today from Google in Detroit. And I'm so excited to be here today with Ilana to
Hi,
talk
everyone.
about how you can use first-party data to really give power to your marketing campaigns. AutoLeadStar has a great solution to help you do this. But before we get into that, I would like to help you understand why leveraging your first party data is so important. So I'm going to talk a little bit about something that's probably been on a lot of our minds lately, and that's the upcoming changes to the privacy landscape. Because these changes are a major reason why it's time for all of us to make this pivot to using our own first party data. So, okay, so what do we mean by privacy changes? Well, since the launch of the internet as we know it in the 90s, really things hadn't changed that much over the years. So the cookie was developed in 1994, which unlike the sort of yummy goodness you get from those with chocolate chips, this is a cookie that places a small bit of information, of data, on your computer from a website you visit so that you can it helps you to access it more quickly the next time you get there. You know, things sort of stay the way that you saw them last time. That's all due to cookies. Now, that was pretty much the status quo for, 20, 30 years. But a few years ago, some of the major web browsers like Safari, Firefox, and Microsoft Edge began to block those third-party cookies by default. So that started to limit your access to user data as an advertiser. Now here at Google, Chrome announced in 2020 that it would phase out these same third-party cookies when we had new privacy-preserving alternatives available. So we're actually working on that actively at Google with things like our privacy sandbox that use new technologies for advertising without tracking users across websites. So we're using a lot of artificial intelligence to do this. And we actually also plan to phase out third-party cookies in the second half of 2024. So there's some time before that goes into effect. So now where we are here, almost in 2023, we're starting to see more collaboration across the web from social media sites, from browsers to help preserve this sort of user privacy. Okay, so why are we seeing these changes come about in these last few years? Well, people's first and foremost, right? We all, as people who live almost entirely online anymore, we worry about sharing so much personal information. We're at the point of the development of the internet where we realize that more and more of our data is out there, being shared, being used, and 64% of us as consumers say we don't trust companies to keep our personal information safe. Now, at the same time, we want to have relevant personal experiences online, including the ads we see. I know that if I'm scrolling through social media, I'd much rather see an ad about paying for college than for baby diapers, because that's the point I'm at in my life, and it's something that resonates more with me. So it's a bit of a paradox, right? Because how do we show relevant ads without the data to do so? That's something that we're going to explore today. Oops. Okay, there we go. Didn't want to change the slide there for me. All right. So data is important, right? It plays a very integral role in enabling so many experiences. At Google, we use data to make our services more relevant and useful so you can find reliable information, get to your destination, even connect with loved ones. So we just talked about how we use data to make ads more relevant. Here's another example. Say you're looking to take a holiday in Hawaii. that sort of data gets shared on the internet. You can then see ads that speak to you about your upcoming trip, offering you travel tools, hotels, flights to Hawaii. So that's one way that data helps show more relevant ads. But beyond that, when you use Google Maps to find the fastest route to your destination, location data from drivers on the road and your own location data are used to estimate your arrival time and traffic. So that's another way that we're using data to make relevant experiences. And then finally, local information in search results can be very helpful in an emergency. If you search for hurricane, for example, our crisis response features can show you local shelter information if there's a hurricane close by, or rather than just giving you generic information about what a hurricane is. So because having these types of personalized experiences is so important, we're working at Google to create new privacy standards using first-party data to protect users and still create delightful experiences online. So, ads privacy is important. It's important to protect users. It's also important to your business. The reason for that is, remember, 64% of people said they don't trust businesses with their personal information. So you as a company have an opportunity to build that trust with your customers by demonstrating that you're using their precious data in a safe and effective way. When you do this, you get more business because actually, according to a 2020 study, brand trust is the second most important factor for brands across geographies, age groups, gender, and income levels for making a purchase. People buy from businesses that they trust. And when people trust a brand, they're about twice as willing to share their personal information, such as email addresses. And then as that trust in your brand grows, so does the data set you can use to power and make your marketing strategy more relevant. Because as you get your customers to share their first-party data with you, you can then use that to make good decisions about how to reach them in a more relevant way. So how can you do this? So first, you can navigate that shifting ads privacy environment with a safe approach. First, you do that by building direct relationships with your customers based on responsibly gathered first-party data, meaning using that data that people share with you rather than buying it from third parties or placing cookies on sites. And then next, you can partner with people like Google with AutoLeadStar to unlock those benefits of machine learning to empower that first-party data and make it work for you. So brands and publishers that adapt to these changes by doing this are going to get a competitive advantage over those who are slower to react. Okay, so let's talk just a little bit more about that. By shifting to gathering first-party data, which you capture with direct consent from your customers, you can eliminate these issues around the deprecation of cookies that's happening. It also means that you create this transparent exchange that builds that trust. And gathering that first-party data can also help you better understand your customers' needs and deliver a better experience, leading to increased performance. So we see that that companies that link all of their first-party data sources and leverage it for their advertising actually double the incremental revenue from a single ad placement. So if you are using your own first-party data, you say, here's my list of customers who have shared their data with me. I know they live here. I know this is their income. I know this is what they care about. They want this vehicle. They want this color. You can then show those relevant ads to them, and it doubles the incremental revenue. We also see a 1.5 time improvement in cost efficiency when you do this, because when you make your ads more relevant and you're speaking to people using their own data, they're much more likely to want to interact with you. And then this first-party data provides a foundation for machine learning, helping predict outcomes and engage with customers. So Machine learning, all that is, it's an area of artificial intelligence enabling our systems to understand massive amounts of data. And we can do that very quickly. So we can take all of this data that you give us, we can make sense of it and use it to show very relevant ads to people in real time, in nanoseconds. Okay, so those are the two things that you need to do. How can you actually put this into practice? We have a 3-step framework for having a privacy safe and forward-thinking marketing strategy. So first, step 1 is build that direct relationship with your customers. You want to responsibly gather their data by being transparent, showing them how you're going to be using it, getting them to consent to sharing it with you in the first place. So now you have responsibly gathered first-party data, and that's very precious data. Second, you're going to ensure your measurement remains accurate and actionable by leaning on machine learning. So you want to then use products that take this data and help you apply it and get it in front of the right people. And third, you're going to drive your business objectives by keeping your ads relevant with automation. So a lot of our products at Google now and a lot that AutoLeadStar use are what we call automated. And that means that you don't have to think about things like keywords anymore. Basically, you just tell us what your objective is. For example, I want to have this many lead forms filled out at this cost per lead. And then based in machine learning, our products will go and do that for you. Because when we combine the power of machine learning and automation with your first-party data, and then we add in the power of humans who understand how to use this, the results are really significant. So you can see that campaigns that use machine learning technology have a 15% increase in performance, and we also see a 27% increase in conversions when you combine your first-party data with automation. So the moral of the story here is you want to responsibly collect first-party data and then put it to use with automated products to help you do this. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Ilana to talk about how AutoLeadStar can help you leverage that first-party data with the automation inherent in their customer data experience platform to help you gain some efficiencies in your advertising and sell more cars. So I'll hand it over to you, Ilana.
Thank you, Angie. I'm going to share my screen here. I don't know if we can share at the same time, but I will try. Here we go. Thanks for your patience, everyone. Okay, here we go. Let me go in slideshow mode. Awesome. Okay, thank you so much. I'm Ilana Shabtai, VP Marketing at AutoLeadStar. I really appreciate all of you showing up today. And Angie, of course, always a wealth of knowledge. So thank you so much for setting this up for us. We will be talking, as Angie mentioned, about first-party data and how that influences your marketing strategy. Angie talked a lot about the importance of privacy and security when it comes to your marketing strategy and when it comes to first-party data. We'll touch on that, and we'll also then shift into why CDPs and CDXPs can be the answer for that. So what we see in the market right now is that a lot of the data, excuse me, is very siloed. We see the core DMS data sitting in a hub, CRM data sitting in a hub, website data sitting in another hub. And this is extremely outdated. It's usually manual. And besides for, the disjointed view that you would get as a dealer, meaning when your data isn't connected, you can't necessarily see that clearly. So besides for that, and besides for the user experience that it then creates, you're also more susceptible to security breaches, which is why it's so important to have that control of your first-party data and have that ownership of your data. And then especially with the FTC safeguard regulations that are coming out, it's important. The more consolidation you do, the more compliant you will be. But going back to the user experience side, which is what I will focus on, when your data is siloed, generally you have very poor user experience. If I'm shopping for a car and I'm, looking at an ad and then a website and then opening an email from the dealership, sometimes, and specifically dealers that don't have the consolidated data, that experience can be disjointed, right? I can look at an ad about a Ford 150, get an email about a Ford Fusion because it's a spray and pray method. It's pretty much what we're used to until today. Dealers didn't necessarily have the tools to actually do anything better than what we have. The past few years, of course, there's been acceleration of dealer tech adoption. But for the most part, that's what we're seeing. We also see that dealers on average are only using 15% of first-party data in the CRM. Dealers are sitting on a gold mine of first-party data that can accelerate their sales and leads. If you look at the other 85%, there's tons of opportunity there, right? Those are leads that you can be cleaning up and engaging and interacting with. So that's another challenge that we see in the industry today. That is why AutoLeadStar released automotive's first customer data and experience platform. We call it a CDXP. It's like a CDP, but it's a bit more enhanced because it has an experience level, CDP being a customer data platform. There's tons of acronyms in automotive, so I know that we're just adding to the mix, but CDXP and CDPs will probably be the focus for 2023, and will definitely be the answer to a lot of the questions and hesitations around the new privacy rules. How can I market well when there's all of these new rules coming into play? First-party data is really the answer. So it really boils down to three things, customer data and experience platforms. The first is identity resolution. Identity resolution is when you unify across all of your channels, all of the activity for a given user so that you can have one 360-degree customer view of your shoppers. So that means merging shoppers, deduping shoppers, and cleaning it into one view. That does two things. One, it allows you to actually see an entire digital footprint, and then you can market appropriately. Two, you can actually be way more efficient with your marketing dollars when you do that. Because let's say you have 3 Jane Does in your CRM. You are marketing then to 3 different people that are actually one person. So when you can actually clean that up and consolidate and have that Jane Doe be in one profile, one customer database, you're marketing way more efficiently to that one person with the message that actually matters, based on the activity that that person did yesterday, not 5 years ago. The second thing we see is trait and audience building. This is another thing that is really important when it comes to looking for CDP, CDXP. This means being able to take that cleaned, normalized data of all of your shoppers and slice and dice them into audiences. Things like non-buyers, lease renewal, finance renewal, and it should be fluid. And that's where the automation and machine learning comes in, meaning you can stick someone into an audience. If they no longer belong to that audience, make sure they go into a different audience in real time. That's the second thing that we think really empowers the CDP. And then the third, which is the most powerful, is the activation. So being able to leverage this data in your from your website, from your CRM, from your ads, and orchestrate marketing activity on top of it. So if you think of this as like a data layer and an execution layer, the first two are kind of like your data. Make sure you normalize it, synthesize it, have it in a place that's consolidated and clean. And the third is more of the marketing execution. Okay, now let's show those people the message that matters. Let's see what that looks like. Here is what a shopper page or a 360-degree shopper view should look like in any CDP or CDXP, whatever you choose to use. The reason why I want to show this is because I think it's important to see the power of a consolidated view and that 360 view. This is an example of a lead, Josh Nielsen. You could see there's a +1 there. That basically means, oh, we identified another person that's also him, shared IP, similar email address, converted years ago. We're going to consolidate that and make that one shopper. But then you'll also be able to see the entire digital footprint, right? What ad did they click on? What email did they open? What VDPs did they look at? What did they convert on? What did they convert on 3 years ago? All of it is in one place, again, so that you can have that view, but also you can market more efficiently. And then we have what we spoke about previously, which is audience automation. Audience automation is when you're able to really slice and dice those clean shoppers into the audiences, again, in real time. So if a shopper belongs to Price Drop, and then all of a sudden they might be due for service, maybe they'll be in 2, maybe they'll be in 1, make it agile, make it dynamic. and make it automated in real time. This is just a couple of examples, but you can have things like sale to service, service to sale, service retention, sale retention, whatever it might be. You want to have those audience automations set up. And then a subsect of this, in my mind, is automated customer match campaigns. Most of our dealer partners, or most of the dealers I speak with, are doing customer match campaigns where they're pulling customer emails from their CRM and then pushing it manually to their ad platforms like Google. Excellent. That creates powerful, target lists and audiences and lookalike audiences. It would be way more powerful if you, one, do it with cleaned up data, and two, if you could do it automated, meaning if there's a new client that comes in, if there's a new customer, that's automatically going to be connected by your CRM and sent to the ad platform. And then everything that happens in between on the website is going to also inform that. So automated customer match campaigns is only an example of the power of audience automation, but very relevant for most of the dealers I speak to. And now when we talk about the activation and the one-to-one marketing, Angie, again, she spoke a lot about, how can you hyper-personalize and still keep trust and still keep your brand integrity and still adhere to all the privacy rules. This is where it really comes in, right? You want to remove the friction. You want to make sure that you have that one-to-one marketing, but at scale and while, being very secure. So what we see is that once you have that data and once you have the execution layer that kind of depends on that data, you'll be able to do things like send very, very personalized email, obviously the person's name, but based on, information based on what they just looked at. Again, they gave you their information. This is your first party data. So it's no longer creepy. It's just kind of expected because, again, you gain their trust. They chose you as a brand. Now make sure you continue the conversation with that shopper and give them what they want across all channels. This gives you the opportunity to do that in a frictionless way. Any CDXP execution platform. You could do things like this. You could do things like this where you're sending emails that look plain text, make it look like it's from a salesperson. But again, have it be very relevant to what that shopper is interested in and did on your website or on an ad or off and on or off your website. This is also often overlooked. This is one of my favorite examples because another way to remove friction that is so easy to do at scale once you own your data is doing things like dynamically inserting landing pages and videos from emails or SMS, whatever you might be sending. Again, as long as you're adhering to the privacy rules. So for example, if I send an email to someone that I have in my CRM, I obviously know who that person is and I know their details because I'm sending them an email based on the fact that they gave me their information. That means that when they click on that email and come to my site, I know exactly who that person is. I can then populate the website and dynamically insert it to be super one-to-one. I can create a video for that person. I can make sure that every form on my site is pre-filled with their information because, again, I know their information. They gave it to me. And I want to make it really easy for them to convert because I want to make my marketing strategy a conversion machine. So here, I don't know if it's a little too small, but you'll see that the information's already pre-filled and then you just click the offer. This is the type of stuff that really creates a marketing strategy that is frictionless and that is 100% based on the consolidation and ownership and control of your own data. The other thing that I just want to touch on, and then we'll wrap up here, is data lake. A data lake is the idea of having your data. Once you have the data actually cleaned and normalized, you can actually then do really cool things with it and query the data so that you can use it for data-driven decision making. So for example, if you have a data lake, you can say things like, show me all shoppers interested in this specific VIN. I want to see every single shopper that's ever been, that obviously that is not anonymous, meaning they give us their information in some way, shape, or form that interacted with this VIN. And then once I have this list, I can do all sorts of things with my marketing. Again, the marketing strategy is based off of the first party data. You could also do other things. I mean, there's tons of queries you can run. Another thing is show me a list of recently sold inventory by shortest time on lot. What does that do? It gives you the idea of, okay, which inventory should I, get at auction so that I know it turns over fast? Or let me get this list, see the leads associated with it, and see what I can do to get them into my store and into their next vehicle. This is just an example of how it would work in a data lake, meaning you would select the date range, you would sort by lease days on lot, you would find the sold car with the most leads, and then you can source it, at auction, repeat the sales process, or take that lead list and do something with it. There's many more powerful things you can do with the data lake. My point here, again, is just that your first party data will dictate your marketing strategy. And so just having a data strategy in general is going to be the focus for 2023, making sure, again, that you're consolidating, that you're normalizing, that you're synthesizing into audiences, and then actually using those audiences for your ads, your targeting, your website, etc. I always like to end with a nice number here. I know Angie shared some as well. We see in our data that dealers were able to actually decrease on average their cost per lead by 47% when using a CDXP, which means that it makes your marketing so much more effective and so much more cost efficient. Because again, if you're not marketing anymore to 3 Jane Does and you're marketing to 1 Jane Doe and you're marketing to what she did yesterday, not 5 years ago, you're going to have a way better strategy, a way more cost-efficient strategy. You'll be saving money and you'll be doing way better. So I know we covered a lot. Thank you all so much. Thank you, Angie. We have our information here, but I'm happy also to take questions live if anyone has questions. And Angie, I'll let you come back on the screen here too. Also, feel free to write down our info. You can always email either of us for any questions. We have this recorded, so we'll be sharing it with those who registered but couldn't make it. Awesome. Angie, it's always a pleasure to co-host a webinar with you.
Yes, likewise. And thanks everyone for joining us.
Yeah, thank you everyone for joining us. Bye.
Bye.